Hello Factorio people, welcome back to the broadcast from Space Age, semi-streamlined Let's Play of Factorio Space Age. Hope you're all doing alright. We're going to Aquillo today, that's what we said we would do. We would go and refactor Aquillo, get some higher science numbers sorted out on our way to Megabase in it. If you want to do the old like, comment, subscribe for me, that would be great. And we'll jump straight into it, shall we? It's me on Aquillo. So the issue we had on Aquillo was basically that we'd not been back here for like hundreds of hours, and the science was still just ticking over at a fairly modest 153 per minute, which is not the kind of numbers we want, you know, like we're gonna have to do something pretty drastic. On Navis we got the Megabase ticking over with some basic science stuff, and this can do 20,000 science per minute from about, well, it's not actually that many, even that many flasks. We're making way more flasks than we're using at the moment. We're waiting on legendary labs to cycle their way through as well. So I thought while we were just waiting for stuff, basically we're just waiting for stuff, we can go to Aquillo. I haven't been to Aquillo for a while. We can refactor this whole thing. I found a nice little space over here, very close to decent patches of fluorine, lithium and oil, so like in this space here. And we'll just refactor the whole base. I brought the lunar one with some concrete. I forgot to bring heat pipes, obviously, I'm an idiot. Some concrete, legendary substations. So if we, you know, one legendary substation, and we want some roboports. We don't want a purely roboport based system in the same way that we have on Fulgora. We do want some things moving across in belts because robots are very, very bad on Aquillo. But if we have our legendary substations and our legendary roboports to recharge the robots, you know, we can get away with just sort of doing a grid like this and building in the middle. If we use regular substations, we would only get away with a much smaller grid. Yeah, like that's quite bad really in comparison, isn't it? So that's why we've waited until this long, really, so that we can start using legendary substations. I mean, we've had legendary substations for a while. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Anyway, alright, let's get this done. Alright, we got our stuff. Thankfully, we've been hoarding ice platforms for quite some time. In these chests, the extra ice and stuff, so platforms shouldn't be a problem. The main problem you've got on Aquillo is just sort of kicking everything off, because you need things to be unfrozen for them to work, but for them to be unfrozen they need heat. But we can get away with this time if we just sort of hoard rocket fuel somewhere, which we have, or even just solid fuel. We can kickstart the system with heat and bring in the oil and the lithium and the fluoroketone, or the fluorine I should say, to this base here, and this should be plenty of thing. Then I realised, right, like I can't just use my big fusion reactor thing, at least not properly, because you need heat pipes. Bloody Aquillo and the heat pipes, right? So this like 90% works, except you would need to somehow heat this inserter to make sure it worked. Being next to two fusion reactors heating up to 1,000,000 degrees centigrade. Apparently this is still a bit nippy here. In this exact space it's a bit nippy. So I redid it. For some reason I did it the other way around. Not quite sure why. Just to make sure that everything that needs a heat pipe has a heat pipe attached to it. And I tidied up the fusion generators as well. Just because I feel like in the first iteration of the design, these were a bit These are a bit ugly and clunky, whereas these seem to be a little bit more... I think I was convinced that you couldn't, like, attach a pipe... If you ran a pipe across the face of it, it would hook up to the plasma as well, but that's obviously not the case, even though... Yeah, like, you don't have to worry about that. So this is... What the heck? Ah, yes, of course. And the Lunar one doesn't have the best missile defenses, because we very rarely go to Aquillo. So the missile defenses are actually only covering the front, which is mostly fine if you're just travelling to and fro, but if you forget and you leave the Lunar one parked around Aquillo, a large asteroid might creep its way in, and we don't have any missile defenses. But thankfully we've got a lot of space down here that we can use for just something, you know, something like this. We'll just bring this belt down and through this space here, you know, shouldn't be a problem, yeah, fixable, eminently fixable. So, we need some heat to get the fusion reactor going, we need some fluoroketone to kickstart the system, but that should be fine, and then we'll have power on this side, and then we can start work for real. So a very small solar grid just attached to one assembling machine, emptying fluoroketone will be enough to kickstart the system, and then we can just get rid of this, and then we're all good. In the time in between that, I set up the fluids, because this is a very manual, laborious task. Yes, I have pump, which is very helpful for doing the whole... This mod is really great. PUMP, prevent unwanted manual placement. Let me show you on a new patch. You just click and drag over everything, pick your parameters, boom! How amazing is that? How amazing is that? There is absolutely no skill or value in... Shouldn't have done that, should have just done Control Z. There's absolutely no skill or value in doing that manually. I do not consider that mod to be cheating. It's just... who really has the time to hook all of that up? And on top of that, oh god, the robots on Aquillo, they're so bad. They drain, what do they drain at? Like 5 times the speed? And recharge at 5 times the speed? At 5... Yeah, it just says they're much weaker here, but it's very bad. It also drains your battery a lot faster. So once I'd done pump, I'd also then had to run around heat pipes to everything. Ugh. And then... yeah, this is warm. This was filled with... let's put some more solid fuel in there. And now that this has power, we can hook this up properly. This does reach. I just disconnected it manually with a wire. There we go. So we have power. We have 1.2 gigawatts. We have power. We'll just wait for this assembly machine to empty itself of fluoroketone entirely. There's a bit more there. There we go. That's mostly saturated the system. So then we can put this cryogenic plant back in, just so that there's 2 ways for it to go, because these aren't like... this is not connected with the fluoroketone, it's connected with the plasma. The plasma can go through, but the fluoroketone can't, so you do need a cryogenic plant on each side, but as long as you connect the pipes up 100% around the outside, it doesn't matter really where it goes, it just, you know. But this is fine, as far as I can tell. This works. Not that we'll get to 1.2 gigawatts for a long time, but we've got the power. We just need to set up some of the initial fluids and the initial start of the ammonia processing. So you don't need any fluids in the beginning, you just need to process the ammonia from the ground. Why does that cue that? And you think that would cue the pump, right? Do I have a pump? But I don't have a pump on me. Yeah, the whole pump into cryogenic plant thing. Start with that, and then we need to bring the oil in, and then it all sort of cascades down from there. So let's go. Alright, this is our start. 4 cryogenic plants making ammonia and outputting waste ice. It's not 100% waste ice, but it mostly will be. Into some storage tanks, which we have to keep warm. Simple. The headache really is getting all of the ice out, and I think this maybe is overscaled. I think at the time I thought this is too much, and then obviously in true Factorio fashion, you always need 10 times more of it. We need to get the oil in. I experimented with just running a really long heat pipe and pumps and real pipes and heat it from this side as well, just to get the heat across. The heat dissipates very fast initially and then very slowly. It does like a percentage of the heat across to its neighbour. So while this is heating up okay here, you know, it's 10% of 10% of 10% of 10% of 10%. So it takes a very long time to get all the way across. But don't worry, I have a brainwave later. Don't worry, I know you're cringing in your seat. Mining productivity is, of course, just absolutely blazing along. I took the biolabs that we'd been farming this whole time with the legendary eggs. We've got about another 20 or so, put them in. So we're not quite all of them legendary, but most of them are legendary, and that's given us a very huge boost. When did I do that? Yeah, about 15 minutes ago in the game. So that has also given us a huge boost. So we're up to 30,000 effective science per minute from, again, not even half of what we're making, at least of the first 4 sciences. But this has been very helpful in just like getting mining productivity sorted. We shouldn't ever have a problem with mining patches now. Like, mining productivity is up to 880%. Big miners have to do 50% resource drain. Legendary miners only 8% resource drain. The numbers are silly. The numbers are silly. We really shouldn't ever need to worry about mining patches. Which is very helpful for places like Vulcanus, where we're kind of just running off of, you know, so like this tungsten ore was running itself down because this has been running constantly because we're upcycling the tungsten ore, because this is the only way. It's not the only way I've found to get tungsten carbide. Tungsten tarbide. Of course, we could upcycle things. But what would you... I mean, upcycling quantum processors, maybe? I suppose. You get 50% productivity in labs for that. Upcycling foundries in foundries? Yes, again, I suppose we could do that. But this is working very, very well for now, at least, you know? I think this is fine. Plus, it was very easy to just bung this here with the metallurgic science components rather than building a whole separate upcycling chain. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway. So we got the ice, we got the ammonia. The next step in the process is to turn that into rocket fuel. Once we've got rocket fuel over here, I can stop manually bringing over piles of solid fuel and rocket fuel from the starter base. Plug in all of the heat pipes, add some more heat towers, and just get the whole thing heated. That should speed things up quite nicely. Fulgora, not enough logistic storage space available. Ah yes, of course. This was not keeping up. I've added some extra stations here to bring in other sciences, just in case I want to do another research. And that's fine, but of course filling up a wagon full of science puts quite a drain on the system, at least initially, to get things going. So that caused a lot of scrap to start being processed, because we didn't have a system in place to not let scrap be processed if we already had enough science packs. But if we let this run full tilt, this can't keep up. If you can believe it, this can't keep up. So we need to double this up and also maybe just let it cool down for a bit, because if we look at the system at the moment, we've got, oh god, 217,000 solid fuel. And I foolishly did an extra couple of levels of research of scrap processing, just because, you know... So I think I added like 30% extra scrap to the system for no reason whatsoever. Other than I just felt bad that I wasn't using any electromagnetic science packs for a little while. So that wasn't smart, but that's easily fixed. We got a Spidertron on Fulgora, so we can just bring this, like do this basically. Just hook this up to the circuit network and just double it up, you know, because it's already legendary speed modules in legendary recyclers. It's not really going to get any faster than that. It's just we're processing a hell of a lot of scrap, so we can fix that as well, but that's not too much of a headache. Alright, so we'll make some solid fuel out of the ammonia and the crude oil, and then we'll turn that into rocket fuel, add the rocket fuel to these chests. And then the logistics bots can start heating up the system. You aren't warm for some reason. There we go, that's better. Melt some ice into water for this as well, it's all good. So, I spend a lot of time here waiting for this to heat up from both sides. And then I'm like, oh my god, it's going to take... I'm going to have to do that again for, like, this. There must be a better way, I thought. There must be a better way. And then I thought, oh, why don't I, like, use a train to bring rocket fuel over to this side? And then I can heat this one up. And I was like, well, if I'm doing that, why don't I just bring the cargo over with a train? So I realised it's trains. I realised actually it's trains. It seems very silly on first... When you first think about it, you just sort of like don't even process that as an option. Trains on Aquillo, you mental. And that's mostly because, in my opinion, the Aquillo heating mechanics thing doesn't really, you know, it kind of like lies to you and says the exception is electric poles, solar panels and energy accumulators. Every entity needs to be touching a heat source in order to not freeze. But that's not actually true. You don't need a heat source for anything train related at all. Stations, signals, the trains themselves, the rails, elevate, like, you don't need any of it. You don't need this to be heated at all. You'd think, well, if I'm going to run a train, then surely I need to run a heat pipe across the entire length of the train track as well, so what's the point? Not true. Not true. So actually it's trains. It was trains the whole time. Aquillo was actually a train base this whole time. How frustrating. So with some very simple and easy refactoring, very, very simple and easy refactoring, just working out really how to unload a train and get the fluid tanks to not freeze. A separate one for the rocket fuel. So the rocket fuel is going to go to two places at once on a very, very simple only bring me rocket fuel if we need it kind of system. The rocket fuel is just going to go directly into the heating tower, which heats the area. So this is now just one isolated heat network. This is so much better. And then the cargo is on a separate line, two-headed trains, Fulgora style, just because, obviously. And so yeah, this train just sits here and waits for any of the heating tower stations to say, oh, I'm running a bit low on rocket fuel. And it brings it some rocket fuel, and it starts heating up the system, so we can do the same, start doing the same over here with the fluoroketone. That's the rocket fuel automated, so we can just put the heating towers in. I've put heating towers on both sides, I've connected it all up around the outside. And it's working like a charm! Look at that. Look at that. If you don't know how to set up, I'll just quickly go over this. This could be your first video, why not? It's just a chest hooked up to a constant combinator, a decider combinator, sorry. Pick the value that you want. I've picked 100 for example, just because 100 rocket fuel is still quite a lot, so it gives the train a bit of time for it to go. If it's less than 100, output a signal of 1L, because L is the default train limit anyway. So the train limit will be 0 while this is not outputting a signal, and the train limit will be 1 once the rocket fuel is less than 100. Once the signal of L is there, the train station becomes open. The train goes, oh, that station is available, I'll go there. It works its magic. It unloads or waits for 5 seconds of inactivity, because you might not necessarily need to fill that. You might not necessarily empty the entire cargo wagon into the chest. You'll just top it up. Back it goes. Waits at the station for a new load, and then sits there and goes, when's the next station going to be open? Very, very, very simple. Very simple stuff. So that's in, and that's all future-proofed, so now we can continue to expand a little bit more. Has anything else happened? Has anything else happened? I kept going in and out of Nauvis. I added Gleben Science to the labs, which caused a whole bunch of problems, because I then needed to... Forgot that during my design of this, I hadn't filtered for spoilage. So I also needed to add another belt for taking spoilage out of the labs and excess spoilage into a heating tower at the bottom, so that was very annoying. Shouldn't have faffed around with it, really. Should have just left it. Also, I don't agree with... Don't do that. No, don't do that. You're going to have to go all the way around now. It should be has cargo and 5 seconds of inactivity, so that it at least waits for something to show up before it starts going backwards and forwards. That's a mistake. Alright, let's continue doing Aquillo. We're going to bring the lithium in, the lithium brine. We do have to bring holmium plates in at some point, so we are going to have to think about moving the cargo bay over, because currently the holmium comes in from the 2 shuttles that go around the solar system, picking up everything they need to and then returning them to Aquillo. So I have upped the request for holmium plates and stuff just to preempt that one. So yeah, the holmium comes in as well. We just use the lithium brine and the ammonia that we're already making. Make the lithium. Lithium goes into fluoroketone and lithium plates, so you do need it on a bit of a bus. And this just goes into a self-sustained... I really like this. I really like the design of this. Makes 65 lithium a second, which is of course not really that much, but it's enough for now. And then we're also using this opportunity to make the fusion power cells, because they also need the holmium and the ammonia, so it makes sense to just put them right next to each other. This design works quite well for me. You'll see this a lot in upcoming builds. One cryogenic plant, another one mirrored along the side, and then just have the heat pipes like this. And then use a long-handed inserter. You can get away with the long-handed inserters for most things on Aquillo. The throughput is so low for most items that... And I assume that's by design, so that you can have your heat pipes in between the belts and the inserters, and then, you know, just move it ever so slightly to heat the machine itself. So this makes way, way, way too many fusion cells. Like, so many fusion cells. 4.32 a second. What's our total fusion cell use over the entire system over the last 10 hours? 3.3 a minute. Oh, consumption, sorry. Oh, less than 1 a minute. So, alright. Well, we've got fusion cells now, I suppose. May have overscaled this. Making the ice flow here as well, just and recycling any ice, just because if you have ammonia, but if you need ammonia but the ice is full, then you don't get more ammonia. The ice is sort of a byproduct, sort of not a byproduct. It's very strange. It's very strange. But we'll start stockpiling ice flow. You never know when you're going to need it. And it's very cheap and easy to make, and it also uses the ammonia. Because I think it's possible we have too much ammonia. I think it's possible we have too much ammonia. Right, so now with everything that we've got, lithium plates, ice, we can get the fluoroketone in, or the fluorine I should say, from here, get the fluorine part sorted, and then we are well on our way. I'm sort of trying to keep things in their block. Like, kind of. Not religiously, but kind of. Aquillo's always going to be a bit of a mess just because of the heat pipe mechanic, right? You just it's never going to be perfect. And I think it looks quite cool. I think it's like it's people often say that the builds end up looking like circuit board designs from the map view especially, but on Aquillo it seems to be extremely more so like that. We're on mining productivity 108, by the way. Absolutely ploughing through these. So the lithium itself goes through and makes fluoroketone. Fluoroketone for the most part is reused. You get 50% of it back in quantum processors, you get 50% of it back in cryogenic science, and those are the only two things it goes into. So you need to sort of have a good system for repurposing it versus making it fresh. And I haven't quite hooked that up yet, because this save file is actually me having moved the cargo bay. So the cargo bay is now moved away from the first base. The first base is done. We are finished with this. Spent a little bit of time demolishing it as best I could. I changed the utility blueprint. You may remember there's a base teardown utility blueprint here that keeps power poles, roboports, radars. I also added storage chests, heat pipes and heating towers to it, just so that it's Aquillo proof as well, because obviously if you tear down your heat pipes, then your roboports freeze and then your robots can't demolish anything. So, but for the most part it's done, so we'll just get rid of this manually, except for the chests, because the chests are full to the brim with processing units and cryogenic science and rocket fuel and ice flow, so we'll need to move this. Unfortunately, the unenviable task of moving all this by hand, but that's okay. That's okay. So we'll demolish this. This doesn't really need to happen right now. But everything's working well. Everything's working well. Heat is one of those things that sounds like it's going to be really expensive to start with, but like once you get up to 1,000, it doesn't stop consuming. But rocket fuel is actually only 90% as efficient as the solid fuel. The solid fuel has a fuel value of 120. Oh, it's actually, yeah, it's actually slightly less than 10%. Whereas one rocket fuel is 10 solid fuel, but it only has 100 megajoules. But, you know, you've got productivity bonuses in there, which kind of even things out, and it makes your robots have to fly around less as well. So I'm just going to use the rocket fuel. I don't care. I don't care. So we'll demolish the base. We'll add the cryogenic science creation. You were disconnected. To the very top. The crown of the system up here. Oh, mining productivity 108 is done. That's good. How did Fulgora end up going? Fulgora, I just turned Fulgora off actually while the scrap sorted itself out, and it has sorted itself out now. Holmium plates. Just sort of make holmium plates forever here. Probably should. I mean, I've got the same problem I had over here, where I was just hoarding it, and then now I've not really used it. We are going to need slightly more holmium plate now. The Aquillo shutter will ask for it a bit more frequently, so it's possible I need to come back to Aquillo to Fulgora at some point and like start maybe using this to get lots of holmium plates, but this is doing alright for now. This doesn't even have proper legendary modules in it, so that's something to just keep an eye out for. Holmium plates are 1,000 in a rocket, right? Yeah, they are 1,000, so it's not really that bad. It's not really that bad. It's more rocket throughput that I'm worried about, which is why I also want to double this up as well. have the rockets, 4 rockets instead, because we're going to want to ship all the cryogenic science. But let's get the cryogenic science in first, at least, and see if that causes any headaches. These numbers are not as high as I thought they would be. To be perfectly honest with you, I thought that we would be laughing here, but this is only, he says, 1,200 science per minute. These are full to the brim with productivity modules. They're running at 17 crafting speed. The only thing really is that they are not legendary cryogenic science plants. Cryogenic plants. They are not legendary ones. We can maybe think about upcycling them here if we feel comfortable doing that. Currently not making them anymore. Making the railguns, making the processors. I don't know why I put railguns in but not cryogenic plants. Did I? No, I must have put cryogenic plants in somewhere, right? Did I? No, I didn't. Okay, fine. So here's how I've elected to solve the problem of the fluoroketone. Because if you let it all just run forever, it will just fill up. Everything will be full. The hot will be full, the cold will be full, nothing can go anywhere. So you need to make sure there's some space in the system at all times. And I've solved that by giving these cryogenic plants a condition to only work under certain circumstances, and those certain circumstances are either the cold fluoroketone is under 100,000 or the hot fluoroketone is over 10,000. I'm not sure why this would ever get to over 10,000. Because, yeah. But that at least means that there's always a bit of space in these storage tanks, and if there's always a bit of space in these storage tanks and something goes very strangely wrong and we get loads of hot fluoroketone without making any cold fluoroketone, then we can at least always do that. And then that's just also bolstered by a circuit condition that doesn't add fresh hot fluoroketone to the system unless this is under 1,000. So this is net 1,244 fluoroketone. So this will need to add that much hot fluoroketone to the system every minute. This will need to cool that down every minute, and then half of it will come back. So it works. Basically, this works. It's a bit confusing, I suppose. It's a bit counterintuitive. You can't just leave it all running. You do need some space in this. You do need some gaps in the system. Other than that, what else has happened? Not much really. He says, put the fusion reactors and the fusion generators back in, just because sometimes we need those on other planets. Although not really, I just want to be done with Aquillo. Like, I want to come back later, much later. What is this actually using? To be fair, it's hardly using any of anything. It's using 0.15 belts of lithium, and we're making... I could just do this, right? Yeah, we're kind of making a lot more lithium than that. So we could very, very easily double, triple, quadruple this. If we upgrade them to legendary labs as well, that also gives them an extra 150% crafting speed, so we can get this up from 20 per second to 50 per second quite easily. 50 per second would be 3,000 a minute, is that right? Yeah, roughly. 3,000 a minute, which, you know, is still not the 10,000 a minute of the other sciences we're making, but we can also, like, probably just do this, double it up. But we're only really going to need it for when we do research productivity anyway. If we look at the tech tree, rocket part productivity, yeah, fine, sure, we might want to get that up to 300%, I suppose, but it's really not that important. It's already on 100, and for legendary prod modules add another 100, so we're already up to 210% productivity, I suppose, maybe. Just for a laugh, we could get up to 300% without using prod modules, but rockets at this point are not very expensive. What else was it? And then railgun damage and shooting speed. Shooting speed, maybe. We can do a few levels of that. Damage, I'm not really sure what the point of this is. Surely once a railgun can shoot an asteroid in one go, you don't need any more damage than that? It's not like the asteroids get stronger. Space. 10,000. It's not like the asteroids. Yeah, once they can do 10,000 damage in one go, then is that not it sorted? Does it? I don't actually really know how they work. They do 10,000 by default anyway. This 32,000 is the bonus that we have, right? What's that? 205%. Is that right? Oh, that was shooting speed. Oh, yeah, I mean, we don't need any more of that. So we may not need quite the same numbers of this as we do of the other one, but I do, you know, obviously the end goal is to have, if we're going to do 10,000 science per minute of the basic sciences, we're also going to want 10,000 science per minute of the other sciences. Just because then we can leave research productivity going for a long time, and that will only just forever speed us up. So that's the end goal, is to just have this queued endlessly, right? That's the end goal of the mega base. This does get out of hand quite quickly, but it compounds, right? It gives you 10% extra for every level that you do of it. But anyway, I've made a small change to the shuttles. Now that we are making a lot more science and a lot faster, I have changed how the shuttles work. There is now one shuttle that goes and gets the stuff. The holmium plates, the low density structures, the processing units for the rockets. Checks for needing superconductors, which go into processors. Carbon fiber goes into processors. Tungsten carbide goes into processors. Tungsten plate goes into fusion generators, fusion reactors. We may also want to make foundations at some point, but I don't think we'll do that on Aquillo, because that will require getting stone from somewhere, and I'm not doing that. I'd rather just ship the other thing. You don't have to make foundation on Aquillo, correct? Yeah, you can make it anywhere. So it makes more sense to just ship this stuff away from Aquillo. So it might also be the case that we don't even worry too much about carbon fiber and stuff like that. We just... But it's fine. This is just basically going around the solar system and then waiting at Aquillo until it either has nothing to do or runs out of holmium and then goes and gets more holmium. That's really all it's doing. Oh, and rocket stuff, of course. This is bringing... Because the rocket part delivery ship is not currently going to Aquillo. Didn't seem to make much sense for it to go to Aquillo. If we have to bring holmium plates and stuff anyway, we may as well get the main ship to do that, because all of this comes from Fulgora, and Fulgora is very good at launching rockets. And then just one rocket from Gleber, 2 rockets from Vulcanus, which we've got sorted. That's an interesting question. Do we have... I've just realised we might not actually have common tungsten carbide and tungsten plates on Vulcanus anymore. Do we? Uh-oh. I've only just thought of that. Alright, we may need to do something about that. Thanks. Rocket fuel productivity. 15. We probably had a storage of it at some point. And then now we've torn the base down, we have been using that backlog, but yeah, it doesn't look like we have any actual carbide left. Oh no, we've still got 2,500 in this chest. Okay, so that needs to go on the to-do list. I do actually need to fix that. And then the other ship is just going to go backwards and forwards for the science. That's all it's going to do. So that should increase the science throughput of the cryogenic science plants, except I can't test this at the moment because I'm still on Aquillo and I'd like to go back to Nalvis to sort this out. This one is the Really what I want to do is I want to move the cargo bay. Because it's causing a huge problem with the Gleben science, right? Because the Gleben science has to come all the way from Glebe, land in the cargo bay, logistics robots have to take it into the train has to go to the lab, then it has to go on red belts to get into the system. Like, in an ideal world, I would make this green belts. It's just 233 green undergrounds is very expensive, but I probably should just get over that, to be honest with you. I've also added the old arithmetic combinator trick here to filter the stack inserter to anything that it can pick up. You just send every signal from the chest to an arithmetic combinator, divide it by 16 and output that. If it is less than 1, it will just round it down and output a 0. If it's more than 1, it will output itself as the filter, so it knows it can pick it up. This just stops the stack inserter from picking up anything that it can't fill its hands with. Because as we all know, a stack inserter will only swing when its hand is full. So if it starts picking up spoilage and it can't pick up 16 spoilage, it will not pick up anything else until it picks up 16 more spoilage, which is usually when the rest of your science packs have spoiled. So that was causing a small problem in throughput, but easily solved, easily solved. Right, so that was Aquillo. A lot of time, a lot of real-world time versus not a lot of video time, but that's because heat pipe mechanics take a while to get through. I was sending the Luna 1 backwards and forwards to pick up more heat pipes, more concrete quite frequently. Realised, oh, I need heating towers. Oh, I didn't, you know. Oh, I've also added legendary logistics robots to this system because seemed relevant, seemed prudent, in fact. Don't need those anymore. I was just using that to get rid of the... Where are they all? Where are they all? Hello? Hello, legendary logistics robots, where are you? How are there none? They are here, I promise you. Where were you all? A legendary robot has a higher energy capacity, so it can fly further before it needs to charge, which is very good on Aquillo, because they can't fly for very long on Aquillo, their batteries drain much faster. So I added 450 to the system. That was just 3 rocket loads of legendary robot frames. That was mostly relevant when they all tried to flood out to pick up these science packs to take them to the rocket. It's a shame I can't really show you. I'm hoping that ice doesn't become a problem either. Like, it shouldn't. You can see it is mostly fine. It's just if it's full of ammonia, we're not getting ice. There might come a time where we've got too much ammonia in the system and not enough ice, and cryogenic science packs fail. And I'm not really sure what to do with that beyond just burning more rocket fuel, like, or recycling rocket fuel. But we'll see. It should be okay. It should be okay. So yeah, that was Aquillo. I haven't added any of this to the blueprint book yet because I'm not convinced that they're very nice. Maybe the lithium one up here is okay, but the rest of it is just a mess of heat pipes. But I'm okay with that. As I say, I like the... I like this sort of organic look. It's not spaghetti, but it's also not extremely tidy. It's cool. It's cool. There's also a blueprint in the utilities book that's called Remove Excess Concrete. All that does is, if you've been messing around on Aquillo and, you know, putting stuff down for testing and putting heat pipes down that you now don't need, you know, and you get rid of the heat pipes and you want to get rid of the concrete, it's quite irritating to use this, just normal deconstruction planner on just the concrete, because the concrete and the ice platforms are both considered a tile, and so it will either just get rid of tiles or not tiles. So if you do this, this happens. which is very irritating. So there's just a very simple remove excess concrete blueprint in the utilities book that you can just drag over the entire factory, and that will just find any concrete tile that is not necessary, i.e. not already underneath something, and get rid of it, just to tidy that up for you. I don't know if I did that, if that's 100% torn down over here actually. It's not! But here's a good example of it in action. Got no robots on me! That was good. Very funny, very funny. Okay, I have to move all of this stuff over to the base. Ugh, irritating. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please let me know with a like or a comment. And if you want to see more broadcasts from Space Age, be sure to subscribe. What are we going to do next time? Good question. I wanted to do laser damage, actually. And I realised I haven't done military science. I also want to sort out... Oh my god, what am I going to do with the solid fuel? What am I going to do with all that? I also want / need to improve Bronze Star. This is making legendary space science, but not very well or consistently. And not at the pace that we want it to. So we do need to sort that. We'll just turn this into a wide buoy, a la asteroid farming. These work very well. So yeah, back to Nauvis. Probably military science and extra space, mega base standards of military and space science next time, I should think. Alright, hope you're doing alright. I'm doing okay. I am not yet moved. Hoping to get some good news today about exchanging contracts and completing next week. But, you know, that's very inside baseball. Alright, take care. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.